And that's okay. What are some of your favorite games on the 3DS? For me, I was working on a post for my website, inthirdperson.com, kind of listing off some of my favorite 3DS games. And I think the big ones for me are the Fire Emblem series. So Fire Emblem Awakening, Fire Emblem Fates. I'm a huge fan of the Fire Emblem series. Though up until the 3DS, that franchise was very niche. Those games didn't sell particularly well. It had a very small audience. And that franchise really found its footing, I found, on the 3DS. Those games sold incredibly well on the 3DS. They found a really great balance of accessibility and depth that the other games hadn't. I still think... I've always felt like Fire Emblem games aren't the prettiest. In fact, I think a lot of those games are actually kinda ugly, especially when they went 3D. I think the 2D animated ones on the GBA are cool, but once they went 3D, like, But, like, just strictly gameplay-wise, they're phenomenal. And Awakening and Fates are some of the best in the series. So I'm glad that the series really took off, and it just happened to be on the 3DS where that happened. So those are two. I also loved The Legend of Zelda... What's it called? Link Between Worlds. That's it. Link Between Worlds was fantastic on the 3DS. Just kind of going away from the idea of having to take on all the dungeons in a linear manner. Gave the game a different level of freedom that had been missing from the franchise for a long time. And also just a really made Zelda game. Even if it didn't have that aspect to it, I just felt like it had really great dungeons, and I liked the story, and I loved the wall mechanic as well. So that was one. I also liked Super Mario 3D Land. We got a couple of new Super Mario Bros. Games on the 3DS. I didn't really care for them. Or no, we only got new Super Mario Bros. 2. And yeah, that game I definitely didn't care for. But 3D Land was awesome. I found that it had this... It did a great job of finding a sort of middle ground between how a 2D Mario plays and how a 3D Mario plays. So you're in a 3D world, but you're still running to an endpoint, jumping on the flag at the end. And just with the way that the game uses its camera angles, and I think that's the main thing of having that more fixed camera. Or more scripted camera to give you more of a linear camera feel while still being a 3D game. It played really smoothly. I liked it for that a lot. 3D World was even better though. But that came out like later. Let's see. Okay, there we go. T-spin setup. Let's go. What were the other games? So that was 4. There's one more. Oh, Kid Icarus Uprising. That is... Man, I think I might be like the only person... I mean, that game... Last I saw, that game sold almost 2 million copies, so it did really well. But I don't feel like anybody talks about that game. It's so good. It's like a mix of Star Fox and a character action game. Like, you're moving along a preset sort of on-rail shooter, but you have melee attacks and tons of different features in a game for a game that probably wouldn't have that stuff normally. And they put a lot of love and care into that story, into the animations, into the graphics. I just wish it had dual analog control. Oh man, that game destroys your hands so bad with that grip. But phenomenal game nonetheless. And so those are kind of my 5 favorite 3DS games. Let me know what some of your favorites are when you get a chance.